What if I told you that one small habit you repeat without thinking could be silently damaging your car every single day? No warning lights, no strange noises, nothing obvious. But underneath, your tires could be wearing out faster, your fuel economy dropping, and your braking distance increasing. All because of one simple number: 32 PSI. It's the number almost everyone uses. It sounds right. It feels standard, safe, reliable. But here's the truth. It's not. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that number became so popular, why it no longer works for most modern cars, and what you should be doing instead. Because the most dangerous mistake is the one you make thinking you're doing everything correctly. Let's start with the biggest myth. Ask 10 drivers what the ideal tire pressure is, and most of them will say the same thing: 32 PSI. Not because they check their car, not because they understand the engineering, but because they've heard it over and over again. It became a habit, a rule that people follow without questioning. But that number didn't come from modern vehicles. It came from decades ago, when cars were completely different. Back then, vehicles were lighter, tires were narrower, suspensions were softer and simpler. And in that environment, somewhere between 30 and 32 PSI worked well enough for most cars. Not perfect, just acceptable. But here's the problem. Cars didn't stay the same. They evolved. Today's vehicles are heavier, stronger, packed with safety systems, electronics, and complex suspension designs. Tires are wider, grip is higher, weight distribution is more advanced. Everything changed, except the habit. And that's where things start going wrong. Now let's talk about something even more misleading: the number printed on your tire sidewall. You've probably seen it: 44 PSI, 51 PSI, sometimes even higher. And a lot of people assume that must be the correct pressure. But it's not. That number is the maximum safe limit, not the recommended setting. It's there to prevent structural failure under extreme conditions. Think of it like the red line on your engine. Just because your engine can go there doesn't mean you should stay there all the time. Using that number as your regular pressure reduces grip, makes your ride harsher, and causes the center of your tire to wear out much faster. So now you have two common mistakes: following an outdated number, or using a maximum limit as a target. Both are wrong, because tire pressure isn't just about comfort. It controls how your car connects to the road. The contact patch, the part of the tire touching the ground, depends entirely on pressure. Too low, and the edges carry too much load. Too high, and only the center makes contact. It affects heat buildup, tire wear, steering response, fuel consumption, and even how quickly your car can stop in an emergency. This isn't a small detail. It's one of the most important factors in how your car performs. Let's break it down. When your tire pressure is too low, the sidewalls flex more than they should. That extra flex creates heat. Heat leads to faster wear. And over time, it can even lead to failure. Your steering feels heavier. Your fuel economy drops. And your tires wear out unevenly on the edges. On the other hand, too much pressure creates a completely different problem. The tire becomes stiff, rigid, less able to absorb bumps or adapt to the road. Grip decreases, especially on uneven or wet surfaces, and braking distance increases, right when you need it the most. So what's the solution? Balance. Not guessing, not habits, not assumptions, but the exact pressure your car was engineered to use. And that number is already provided for you, right on the driver's door jamb. That sticker isn't random. It's the result of thousands of hours of testing. Engineers consider weight distribution, braking performance, suspension behavior, load capacity, and safety. They find the exact pressure where everything works together perfectly. That's your number. Not 32 PSI. Not the tire sidewall. That sticker. And here's something most drivers completely ignore. Front and rear tires often require different pressures. Why? Because most cars carry more weight in the front. The engine, transmission, and steering components all sit there. So naturally, The front tires need to handle more load. If you inflate all 4 tires to the same pressure just for convenience, you're ignoring how your car is designed. And over time, that leads to uneven wear, reduced steering precision, and less stable braking. Now let's talk about something even more important: load. Your car doesn't always carry the same weight. Sometimes it's just you. Other times, it's passengers, luggage, maybe even a fully packed trunk. That extra weight changes everything. More load means more tire deformation. More deformation means more heat. And more heat increases the risk of failure. That's why manufacturers provide a second set of recommended pressures for fully loaded conditions. Ignoring that is exactly how blowouts happen during road trips. And here's another mistake almost everyone makes: checking tire pressure at the wrong time. Tire pressure must be checked when the tires are cold, before driving, or after the car has been sitting for hours. Because once you start driving, friction heats the tires. And as temperature rises, so does pressure. If you check them hot and release air, you're actually underinflating them. The next morning, your tires will be below the correct pressure, and the cycle of damage begins again. Temperature alone can change your pressure. A drop of around 30 degrees Fahrenheit can reduce pressure by 2 to 3 psi. That's enough to affect performance, fuel efficiency, and tire life. So if you set your pressure once and forget it, you're almost guaranteed to be driving with the wrong pressure most of the time. Now let's talk about something modern cars rely on: the Tire Pressure Monitoring System, or TPMS. A lot of drivers trust it completely. They assume if there's no warning light, everything is fine. But that's not how it works. TPMS usually only alerts you when pressure drops about 25% below the recommended level. By that point, the damage has already started. Uneven wear, extra heat, reduced stability. It's an emergency system, not a maintenance system. Real-world data shows this clearly. A huge percentage of vehicles on the road today have at least one underinflated tire. Many are running all 4 outside the ideal range. Not because drivers don't care, but because they were never taught the correct way. They learned one number and never updated it. And the damage doesn't stop at the tires. Incorrect pressure affects your entire car. Underinflated tires act like soft springs. Overinflated ones act like solid blocks. Both put extra stress on suspension components. Shocks, bushings, ball joints, and wheel bearings wear out faster. So what starts as a small mistake turns into expensive repairs. Now here's something interesting. Some people intentionally increase tire pressure to improve fuel economy. And yes, it can reduce rolling resistance slightly. But the trade-off? Less grip, faster tire wear, reduced safety. In real driving conditions, especially on rough or wet roads, that loss of traction can be dangerous. So in the long run, costs more than it saves. Let's not forget something simple, but critical: your spare tire. It sits in the trunk, ignored for months, sometimes years. But here's the reality: tires lose pressure naturally, about 1 psi per month. If you haven't checked your spare in a year, there's a very high chance it's unusable. And if it's a temporary spare, it usually requires around 60 psi, not 30, not 35. So if it's sitting at half that, it's not safe to use. And then there's TPMS resetting. After adjusting your tire pressure, most people just drive away. But if you don't reset the system, it continues using old values as its reference. That means it might not warn you properly next time. It's a simple step, but skipping it makes the system unreliable. Finally, let's talk about nitrogen. You've probably heard it being sold as a premium upgrade. And yes, it leaks slower and reacts less to temperature. But for everyday driving, the difference is minimal. And if you mix it with regular air, the benefit disappears anyway. The real secret isn't nitrogen, it's consistency. So here's what it all comes down to. Forget the myths, forget the habits, forget the guesswork. The only number that truly matters is the one your car was designed for. Check your pressure regularly, Adjust it based on load and temperature. Don't rely on warning lights. And don't ignore the small details, because in the end, that small habit you thought didn't matter could be costing you safety, performance, and money every single day. And remember this: the most dangerous mistake isn't doing something wrong. It's believing you're doing it right when you're not.